After 6 years of publishing videos online, one of the most common questions that I've gotten through the years is tips and advice for riding the sitting trot. Today I'm here with Ellie, one of our school horses, and I'm going to do another tutorial of one simple exercise that's going to help you with your practice for sitting trot. So we'll take a few minutes and we'll go over some of the basic things that you want to make sure you have in place first, and then I'll go ahead and show you the exercise. I'm Callie. I already introduced you to Ellie, and this is the weekly show here at CRK Training. So today is a tutorial on the sitting trot. The few things that you want to make sure that you understand and that you have pretty solid in your position in order to have a good sitting trot is, first, you want to have a nice flat back. One of the problems that will make your sitting trot a lot more difficult to ride is if you start to hollow your back. If you hollow your back, you're going to end up having to grip with your legs in order to just stay on, and the trot's not going to feel very comfortable for you or for your horse. The other thing to think about is allowing your thigh to bear weight. So if your heel is pressed down really hard and your legs out in front of you, you're not able to bear weight on the inside of your thigh, and that also is going to make the sitting trot more difficult. The next thing to think about in sitting trot is we have to stabilize our back. The movement for sitting trot comes from our hip joints. It doesn't come from the back. So when we're in the trot, we don't want to be trotting with our back moving. Instead, our back should stay stable and the movement comes from the hips. When you're riding the sitting trot, you want to think about going with the movement. One of my teachers, Angelo Teletin, describes it as jumping with the trot. So that's going with the movement instead of trying to absorb the movement. Finally, you have to remember that how comfortable the trot is to ride depends a lot on how your horse is moving. If your horse is very hollow, if they have their head up and their back is dropped and they're very stiff in their gait, then the trot is going to feel much more jarring and it's not going to be very comfortable to ride. Also, if you're jarring on your horse's back, it's going to tend to send them into this position. They're not going to lift their back and move better if you're still jarring. So it kind of becomes that snowball effect of, if you start to ride it poorly, the horse is going to drop their back in order to try to protect their back. They're going to start moving more choppy and more jarring, which is going to make it even harder. And that brings us to the exercise that we're going to do today. So I'm just going to do a demo with Ellie here for that exercise. I'm going to start by just picking up a walk. And at the walk here, I'm just going to think about those things that we discussed earlier. I'm going to make sure that my lower back is nice and flat. I'm making sure that I'm not bracing against the stirrup, that I just have the weight of my legs in the stirrup, and that I can feel the weight resting on my thighs, so I'm not gripping or tight. Anytime that we start to grip and get tight, and we make our big glute muscles that have contact with the saddle tight muscle bounces much more than soft muscle. So we have to stabilize our position through our back, but we have to leave these big muscles soft so that we're not bouncing off of the saddle. The next thing I'm going to do for this exercise is I'm just going to ask for a few steps of trot and then come right back to walk. I don't want to go into trot and have to try to work through all this bouncing and jarring on her back where she's going to start to try to go hollow, and then it's going to trigger that snowball effect. I'm just going to do a few steps and come right back to walk. When I do my downward transition, I want you to notice that I'm going to keep my hands forward. So I've got my reins short enough here that I've got contact. In order to do my transition, I just have to think about closing my fingers and making sure that my back stays full. I'm not going to pull back on the reins, or that's going to right away tip me forward. So I'm going to pick up trot, do just a few steps, and right back to walk. I'm going to ask for trot again. Few steps, right back to walk. So as I'm in the walk, I'm thinking about feeling this motion in my hips. I can use the walk each time as a little reset to notice, are my feet soft in the stirrups? Am I tight, gripping, or bracing anywhere? Let that go. Make sure my reins are short enough so that I've got contact. A few steps of trot, right back to walk. Good girl. As you get more comfortable with this, now you can start to add a little bit more steps. Now you might go like a quarter of the way around your 20-meter circle and then come back. Ask for trot again and go a little bit further and come back. Good girl. And you're just going to repeat this exercise, staying with just a few steps in trot as long as you need to, until you start to get this feeling of going with the horse, of keeping your back stable, keeping your legs soft, keeping your hip joint soft, allowing the movement to come from here. Now it's your turn to share what works well for you. If the sitting trot is a gait that you've learned to ride, and especially if maybe you had some trouble when you were first learning it, what really made the difference for you? What helped you figure out how to ride it without bouncing and be more comfortable? Go ahead and leave a comment below. If you're watching this anywhere besides crktrainingblog.com, go there. That's where the best conversation is. You'll find many other free videos there. And also, if you haven't already checked out the free course, Better Riding in 7 Days, it's a great program to give you more short, quick tips like this to help improve your riding. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week in the show.